Hello, my wild and live friends. How are you all doing? Welcome to the Africam show. Oh, I love it. You know, the more cameras we get, the more often we get to start off with a bang. We've got elephants, we've got zebras, and we've got all of you. Remember that we're live and interactive, so send through those questions and those comments. I do love to hear from all of you. Oh, grumpy old man, you are indeed correct. You believe that tomorrow is my birthday. Tomorrow is my birthday. I am very excited to not work tomorrow and maybe do some grumpy old woman activities. I will be baking my cake. I will be crocheting. And I will be reading a murder mystery. That's my idea of an ideal day. The only thing that would make it better is to spend some time in the bush. Unfortunately, I'm still in Johannesburg, so that's not going to happen, but thankfully we have these cameras. I'm going to carve out an hour just to spend virtually in the bush. It's so lovely to see quite a bit of water happening here. But you can still see that there's a kind of a gathering of elephants very close to the camera right now at this little edge. Now, this doesn't look like it would be artificially fed at that point. It looks like the elephants have dug in that area, but I could be wrong. And if there is a little pipe there, Kirst would tell me, but I don't think that there is. Oh, she says there is a pipe. It looks so natural. Oh, interesting. Look at everyone scatter. Huh. So this is a group of bulls, and I would have not expected them to scatter so much on the approach of another bull. If we were looking at a herd, a breeding herd, so where there's females and their offspring, then I would expect them to, move pretty quickly. But I wonder, it's difficult to tell size, but I wonder if this bull is significantly bigger than the others, but it doesn't look significant. Maybe a little bit, but not significant. But then again, sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with the general dominance in the area. Maybe it just has something to do with what interactions were like that day. It can even be the way that the elephant was communicating on its way to the group. Now, this is something that we have to consider fairly often actually, because we can learn a lot about elephant behavior and know the signs to look for and all of those sorts of things. But the very unpredictable part of interpreting elephant behavior is that we have zero idea how anything else has affected that elephant that day. Maybe that elephant had a bad interaction with other elephants that day, bad interactions with people on foot, with game drive vehicles. We have no idea about that. So sometimes that can make interpreting elephant behavior a little bit difficult. But at the same time, I kind of like it because it reminds us that not everything can be predictable. We can only learn to communicate or at least be able to understand what an elephant's trying to tell us a little bit, or maybe 50%. But outside of that, there's still a lot we don't know, and I love that. Sometimes that a lot that we don't know is not just the biology and the science, which of course I love, but also just experience. What has that elephant gone through that day? And what has it subjected other elephants to that day? Oh, thank you, everybody. Everyone's wishing me an early birthday. Thank you so much. You all are the first to wish me. So a very special place for all of you for the early birthday wishes. Kim Festino, Bridget McKinney, April Owl, everyone's here. Casper's Third Ghost, Jean Gale, Mindy, Mr. HUAE 87, Dear NC, Amber Co, MG Leopard Spots. Everyone is here, and I'm so glad to hear it. Oh, and MG Leopard Spots, you say you had your first real rain yesterday. It poured and it was awesome. And that California needs the rain. I'm I'm so glad to hear that. There is nothing quite like that first rain. As we've spoken about a couple times, we've already received our first rains both in the bush in the Lowveld area, even further north, like in this area that we are right now. In fact, let's head over to Safari Hook. There's some more Ellies over there. So we've basically received, most of the areas have received the rain, which we're super, super happy about. And the smell was incredible. Now, this elephant has played a little trick on me. I was wondering what on earth is that little creature next to the dead tree that's poking out of the water. It's just the trunk. Look at how spectacular these Ellies are. And they are proper caked. I can only imagine what they must be like here in Safari Hook because they have this clay-like soil all over their bodies. Now, I had a bit of a thought because we know that elephants uh, dust bathe a lot and they get themselves wet, they throw some dry soil in them, and then it gets caked into this mud. Imagine, like a clay face mask, but it's all over the body. And that has many benefits. It can soothe the skin, it can trap moisture close to the skin because the outer area is dry. And then when they rub it off, it can pull off pests. They don't use it as much for waxing, as you would imagine, but it does work for pulling off pests. Luckily, they don't have too much hair covering their bodies for waxing. But I wondered, we know that different colors absorb and reflect light differently and absorb and reflect heat differently. And I wondered when we are in these, north of South Africa, especially in places like in Namibia, where we have this nice white or light colored soil, not only in Namibia, but seeing those elephants caked in the white, you know what I'm talking about. I wonder if those elephants that get to use that soil as their mud mask, if they're able to stay cooler than elephants, say in Tau. Well, actually, Tau also has some white soils. Well, further south in Tau, further south in Madikwe, you get these browner soils. Or let's think about Founders, for example, where we know that there's this iron oxide rich soils. I wonder if those elephants are warmer than the ones that we're seeing here, for example. Theoretically, I'm sure that they are, but it's probably an insignificant difference. Kaoru, you say hi, but you're a bit late today. No worries, you weren't too bad at all. We're glad to have you on board. Gordon, you say, enjoy my birthday tomorrow. It sounds like the perfect day, except making my own cake. I mean, others did offer to get me cake, but I really wanted to try this lemon and blueberry cake that I've been angling for a while. So I baked the cake today, and then I will ice and decorate it tomorrow. I also have a lovely bottle of Spanish cava that I've been really saving for this day, for tomorrow. So cake and cava sounds like a good idea. There's something else quite interesting going on now as well. particularly with these two, either they've really been chatting up a storm or they're communicating with another group. But you can also see that they've both gotten their uh, dominance apparatus out. So definitely something is piquing their interest. They want to assert their dominance, they want to show off a little bit, but they're not, there's no indication of any kind of aggression or irritation. And that's the wonderful thing about not just elephants, but most animals in the bush, is that they give you so many visual cues, and visual cues are very, very important because out in the bush, the last thing you want is an injury. If you get injured, there's no telling what can happen. There's it directly affects your survival. It could be the smallest thing because there's infection. Maybe it affects how much you can browse, how often you can hunt. It just increases the risk of death so much, even a small injury. So if animals can assert themselves, figure out who is more dominant and who is, should be submissive, if they can figure that stuff out without having to actually make contact, that's first prize. So lucky us, we get to see all these visual cues, we get to interpret them, and it's the most brilliant form of communication. It sorts everything out without actually having to put yourself at risk. Now, you might think, well, if you are the bigger animal and you know you're going to win this fight, why not? Just engage. I mean, isn't that going to be like more dominant? I feel that's quite a human thought process because then there's like ego attached to that, and who knows what other trauma you have that you're trying to prove or whatever. There's a whole lot of human psychology that goes into that circumstance. But with animals, they're pretty straightforward when it comes to that. So if I can show you that I am bigger, stronger, taller than you, and you're actually not going to stand a chance, then that's kind of safer for both parties. And I think these two had a bit of a chat in that way. The other thing I saw that was quite interesting was that the first elephant bull that was standing in the water right next to that dead dried tree, it still seemed to be speaking because it was very still. The other elephant was very still, and you can sort of see when they're listening or communicating because they're kind of like statues. But it was doing so in the water. And it's not something I've really researched with elephants, but obviously you know that light, sound, things that move in waves travel differently in different densities. And so water is a different density to the air. And I wondered whether there was distortion, for lack of a better term, or do they have a way to compensate for that by receiving sound waves through the water? Now, hippos are quite unique in that they can compensate for that change. And we often say that they have an amphibious lifestyle because they're on the ground or above the water and then in the water. Oh, hello, it's just all about elephants today. And look at this little one, looks like a little puppy. I love it when the little ones get very wet and they poke their heads out of the water and it looks like they look like a basset hound, with their ears drooping on the sides of their heads. Oh, this is so sweet. In fact, we're at Katmai Pan now, and I haven't been to this waterhole in a while. Katmai always feels like one of the OG waterholes. Bridget, I did see your comment about that, whether it was smoke or dust devil on the right portion of the screen. And then I was trying to see what you were seeing, but I couldn't. If it was smoke, I reckon it would enough smoke to be noticeable would mean something is up. It could be that they're doing burns, although it tends to be pretty windy around this time. So it might not be the ideal time to do burns, but at the same time, rains have come. So if they are doing burns, then it might have been smoke. But I don't think I saw a dust devil. Unfortunately, those types of things are so fleeting. I wish we could go back and have a look. Hello, Mary Momo. Welcome aboard, and thank you very much for your well wishes. Glad to see that you're joining us with your extra large cup of refreshing local Crystal Springs water. Sounds like an advert, doesn't it? It's interesting that Katmai is still looking so dry. Because these areas have received some rain, but clearly not enough to really get growth going. But I've said this before as well, is that plants don't necessarily need a whole lot of rain to start getting the signal that it's time to grow and it's spring and it's growth season. They basically are taking their cues from day lengths and the amount of light that they are receiving, and temperature as well. Rain is obviously an amazing thing and it's going to help a lot, but it's not necessarily the signal that says, hey, it's time to grow. Thank you very much, Darkmane Lover. And Mindy, you say you like the almost eye level of this pan. I do too. And I'm really hoping that this little one is having an absolute ball. I'm hoping it comes to investigate us a little bit. And what do you think's going on with that youngster that's next to potentially its mum there? I think it's desperately trying to get to her teat. Desperately trying to get some milk. Oh, hello. This one walked in as if to say, hey, what are you doing here? It looks so shocked to see this baby enjoying itself in the water. Yeah, looks like a bit of a petulant teenager. The head shake and turn looked like it was irritated at the baby having fun. Hello. So oh, that's so cute. Whose baby are you? Is that mum right behind you there? With your older brother, perhaps? That juvenile has tusks that indicate that it's probably around at 3 or 4 years old. And mums can nurse for up to 5 years. You can see it's reaching there, desperately looking. Actually, those tusks are not as long as I thought they were. So I would, but this it's looking pretty big. The actual height of the individual looks like a young male. So elephant mums can produce milk for a single offspring for up to 5 years. So it gives them a lot of time. But they tend to imagine, so they're pregnant for 2 years and then say feeding for at least a year, definitely more than that. So let's say 2 years of nursing. So that's at least 4 years that her cycle, she's not going to be ovulating as much as she would or she's not going to be coming into estrus as much as she would. So generally, there's at least a 4 year gap. Oh, there we go. Sometimes all we need is a little nudge to get in the pool, right? It's usually better if that nudge is not with a tusk, but we are not elephants. April Owl, you say you love to watch baby elephants playing in the water. I know it's literally heart warming, heart melting, smile making. It's wonderful. And Jess is not normal. You said that baby is having a grand old time. I love it. This baby seems to not have a care in the world for anything. Well, we'll see if that changes now because the others are moving off and babies have so macho sometimes and so confident when everyone else is around, and then suddenly they find themselves having too good a time and others have moved off, and then they get a bit of a panic. Oh, you're nudging your friend to have some fun with you. Oh, this is too good. Oh, that was a nice close up. That baby looked very sneaky there. It's like tried to come out as if to say, yeah, yeah, I'm coming along, but actually I'm not, and it's just too good. We've all had that experience at the pool before. There you go, you made it. Now the herd will always know where the youngsters are, always. But when you're a kid and you get lost in the grocery store and you're convinced that your parents have left you, but they knew you were, in the comic book aisle the whole time, it's much the same. Mums and grandmoms and aunts, they always know, but sometimes the baby doesn't know that they know. They can have a bit of a panic. Leslie Bailey, you say you're enjoying watching and listening while working, and you're watching from Florida. Thank you so much for joining us. I think it's a wonderful way to have a bit of a break in the workday. Bridget, did you see that? There was a little bit of a helicopter trunk earlier. MG Leopard Spots, you say one of the babies about 35 minutes ago was missing her tail. Did I read that correctly? Then you say nothing at all. Hmm. Oh, as in there was no tail at all. So there's a number of things that could cause that. The most obvious one is that perhaps a crocodile had gotten hold of it, and because the baby is pretty low to the ground compared to an adult, a crocodile could reach the top of the tail. But if it is a clean, if it looks very obvious that it has not been, it's not a predator that has taken that tail, it could be infection, it could be a developmental issue, something that like a congenital thing. Maybe it was just born like that. But if there's a little stub left and that stub is moving and all of that like an actual tail, it's very likely it was either an injury that caused the tail to maybe have an infection, drop off, or it could have been taken by a predator. And young elephants, unfortunately, because they are smaller than the adults, once you get past 500 kgs, there's very little that's going to go after you. I should say more than once you're past a ton, Very little is going to go after you. Um, but a little baby born maybe 120 kilograms, I almost said kilometers, and then you try maybe, up to 200, 300. Let's be conservative and say 500 kgs at 4 years old. You're still pretty low to the ground, and you can be targeted by predators, especially if you don't have the protection of the herd. And having spoken about, this idea that the herds always know where their youngsters are, they do, but youngsters still get separated, even if the herd knows where they are. Just like in the mall with your parents once upon a time. So they are vulnerable to lions, to crocodiles. I'd say those are the big ones. But predators are opportunistic. So if wild dogs come across a very young elephant, I remember seeing a very young elephant killed by hyenas in Madikwe, actually, where Tao is. Now, whether that young elephant was a stillborn, I don't know, but by the time by the time I got there, I saw hyenas and they were on this, they had already killed this baby elephant. But I don't recall seeing things like afterbirth or any kind of sack around it. PM devolved, exactly. This is like trying to get your kid out of the motel pool when you're on a road trip. It's exactly like that. Nothing else matters when you're having fun. This really is good for the soul. I can hear traffic outside, and it's not affecting me one bit. So I get to spend time watching elephants. Anyway, let's head over to Safari Hook again and have a quick look at a very nice bird. And then I'm sure we can come back to the elephants. Hello, Corey Mustard. Oh, we're having a bit of a rest. Just chilling and drinking. Now we've seen this one. I mean, it might not be the same individual, but we've seen this one at Safari Hook a few times. Where else are you gonna go? You need that water. So you see that the bird is resting, right? So the part that's actually bent there, that looked like backwards knees, what was actually its ankle? And its knee is further up. Oh, you have an elephant here as well. Maybe the same ones from before. Oh well, that cut your little trip to the waterfall short, didn't it? I love it. I love when this happens. I love when it happens on the cameras, and I love it when it happens in person in the bush. When you're so focused maybe on one side of a dam, and then you suddenly hear something behind you or behind a bush. I love it. That's when it really feels like the bush is alive. There's things happening all over the place, everywhere. Well, there's one Ellie there in the back, but I don't think that was the one that was making the sound. Oh, and some beautiful dust bathing. Thinking about what I had a thought about earlier when I was thinking about different colored soils, because we also get like black cotton soil that's really, really dark and very terrible if you get your car stuck in it, because you're just going to spin and you're not getting out without a tow rope. If they had to throw that soil onto their backs, it would definitely trap more heat and um, absorb more light. And then, of course, the lighter soils less so. But I wonder in areas where there are different colored soils, like in Madikwe, I wonder if elephants choose differently. Oh, excuse me. Hello, good looking. I love your wrinkles. I believe that's what the young people call main character injury, energy. Gosh, injury. Definitely main character energy there. Almost like he knew the camera was right, yeah. Okay, let us head over to Founders and have a look at how our little goslings are doing. Hello, little ones. We've come for a visit. Anyone around? Or am I just not seeing them? They're gone. Too late. I was too late. I mean, they couldn't have gone far, right? Egyptian geese, they like to be near the water. Um, Little babies, safe by the water. So I can't imagine that they went very far. But apparently so. Oh no. Things are looking very overcast in the Eastern Cape today. Normally, at this camera, one thing that I absolutely love is the contrast between the color of the soil and the bright, clear blue sky. But today it looks like there's a bit of a storm rolling in, which I'm not surprised about. The wind in this area can be brutal, and it can carry with it quite a chill. Righty-yo, these goslings are gone. Oh, that's a shame. I hope that we haven't lost any along the way. I can't remember how many we had last time. But Egyptian geese, it's a terrible thing that we often talk about mortality, but at the same time, it's part of life, especially life out in the wild. But Egyptian geese tend to have quite a few in their clutch, and I've never seen a couple that had fewer than four goslings. Never. And it's a little bit of an insurance policy. Lots and lots of animals do that. So it's not something to, um, it's not an unfortunate thing. It's just a strategy, actually. Leslie Bailey, you're wondering if elephants ever lay down? Absolutely. Adults less so, but you'll see youngsters do it very often. But adults will do it too. So elephants have they're obviously huge, right? So it can be a little bit difficult to get up from from a lying down position. So adults tend to do it where the ground is a little bit at an angle. So sometimes against termite mounds, that means that they can rest their body, but also be able to get up easily. Now, elephants, like giraffes as well, and other large herbivores, giraffes and elephants more so than, say, rhinos and hippos, but they're so big and they're herbivores, so they've got to constantly eat. They're always eating. Uh, and that means that they have to be on the move quite a lot. So, like us and other mammals, elephants go through different types of sleep. They go through a sleep cycle, just like us. Now, for them to have REM sleep or REM sleep, which is proper deep sleep, which we don't have a lot of. We're not hours in REM sleep, but our sleep cycles. In order for them to get that proper sleep, which they might get for 10 minutes, they need to be lying down. Now, other parts or other types of sleep or zygote, perfect comment. Prison Ponies Orchestra. Yes, coming to a theater near you. This is insane. So elephants and giraffes have a certain type of ligament in their feet or in their legs, I should say, called a stay apparatus. And it's kind of like a ratchet. So to stand up and fall asleep, not REM sleep, but the other kinds of sleep, they can definitely take a nap standing up, and they often do, thanks to that stay apparatus. And that takes no energy from them. It's just like bats hanging upside down. That doesn't take energy from them. They're not holding on to a tree or a branch with energy and force so that when they fall asleep they fall down. No, there's certain apparatuses that are in place that allow them to do that. And it's the same with elephants and giraffes. So they can take a nap standing up, and they often do. But when it comes down to the serious sleep, the sleep that your brain needs to kind of uh, you know, really rest, and the analogy that's often used is like, when you defrag a hard drive or something like that, it's kind of doing the similar thing to the brain, and that the brain is organizing that information that is useful and useless. And that happens during REM sleep. So for that sleep, they will lie down, but otherwise they can have a perfectly good nap standing up. But as you know, when it comes to youngsters, they kind of don't care. The less they can expend energy when they're being told to, the better. But of course, when it's 5 o'clock in the morning and they decide that they have all the energy in the world, then that takes precedence. Karu, they are very noisy today. But the one part when Zygote mentioned Prison Ponies Orchestra, that was crazy loud. Let's head over to Meno Aquena. We have some vervet monkeys and some elephants. I'd love to see some vervets. Hello, Ellie. Oh, hello, vervets. They're being very still. Ah, there we go. Hello, mischief makers. Aren't you lovely? I mean, it can be noisy here when the zebras are around as well. Do you remember when they were up on the ridge a couple weeks ago and there were so many of them? They were pretty noisy, but for now, it's quite peaceful, isn't it? Maybe that's why the vervets are around, to cause some chaos. They're very good at it. Four, five. Yeah, there's five of them. As usual, the elephants have gathered around the well. Nothing to see here. Everyone's happy. Oh, it's not quite a well. Is it quite a well? Or maybe it's just a big pipe. Not sure. Yeah, this is pretty peaceful, apart from the occasional human sound. But I must say I don't hate it very much because I think that we all deserve to be in touch with the wild and give ourselves the opportunity to experience wildlife and wild spaces. So though it can be a little irritating sometimes when you just want a moment of peace and you're watching the cameras or you're at a lodge and you hear human voices and all those sorts of things, I can really appreciate that's part of conservation too. As long as we all behave ourselves. I'm excited to see what these vervets. I wonder if we could get closer to the vervets, because they seem to be just drinking out of a small little pond, if I could call it that, little depression. But they're one of the most interesting animals to watch in the bush. Oh, someone is either. Oh, we got a broken leg there. What is going on there? Well, we're gonna get closer in a moment and then we can see, but there's definitely one individual who still has a leg. The leg is there, but the way it's holding the leg either tells me it's injured. Let's see if it's atrophied at all. Then maybe it's a very long standing injury. Everyone's just having a good old break for now. Nothing crazy. But it's an individual that's in this first group, the one that's closest to us. And I think it's the individual that's most on the right. MG Leopard Spots, you're thinking like me. I've had this thought so many times. You wonder if a vervet has ever jumped onto an elephant. I would not be surprised at all, especially if it used it to jump onto something else. I feel 100% it would have done that. No doubt, actually. Jumped on an elephant's back and then jumped on a tree. I think so. Okay, so it's the individual that still has its head down. There we go. That one there on the left. Whoa. So it's this right leg, the one that we can see. Can you see how atrophied that is? How small and skinny it is from not being used. Now I want you to watch how it holds that leg, because it looks like it can still like place it down for balance. But I want to watch as it moves, because it is looking, that leg looks very skinny. It almost looks bionic. Come on, let's see how you go. Almost looks like there isn't even very much fur growing on it. Interesting. I think an old injury, like years, because it is so reduced. Oh, there we go, there we go. Oh, you were so fast. But you could see it definitely was holding that leg up. When I see something like that with vervet monkeys, with chacma baboons, my first thought is how is this affecting the relationship and alliances and the hierarchy in the troop? And that's why I love to sit and watch them. Now, if you get the opportunity to watch this camera and see this troop again, which you'll obviously be able to tell because of that individual with the limp leg, well, not limp, but like lame. If you get the opportunity to watch them, I think you could get some really awesome insights. It would also be nice to know if that's a male or a female, but I think it's a male. so much of their lives depend on the relationships they have, the alliances they form, where they fall in the hierarchy, their friendships, enemies, emotions, and being a bit of an outcast, or would it even be something that makes an individual an outcast? I don't know. Anyway, now I'm super curious and I'm rambling, and it's time for us to say goodbye. Thank you everyone for watching. I will carry all your wonderful birthday wishes with me tomorrow. Thank you very much for them. It means a lot. And I will see you on Thursday for Wild Moments. Have a wonderful time wherever you are and keep watching the cameras. Bye for now.